So good morning. So I guess in the spirit of the conference, Charlie and I thought that we would do a collaborative presentation that reflects the collaboration between industry, Intel, and academia, Trinity College Dublin, supported by government through various funding agencies and particularly the City of Dublin. So you'll find that this presentation, I hope, has all the characteristics of open innovation, collaboration, co-creation, risk, some courage, I hope, and as you'll see as we go through the slides, a bit of crowdsourcing as well. From a Trinity perspective, I guess, how do we come to this collaboration is sort of the question. And really the answer is that as a university, we strive, I suppose, to undertake research that is of consequence, that delivers impact, but more particularly that delivers value, be that economic value, societal value, cultural value, to society at large. That's the fundamental, I suppose, mission of the university. If you were at dinner last night, you'll have heard the provost talking about breaking down the silos that sort of traditionally exist within university structures between, faculties, schools, departments. And that's sort of core, I suppose, to what we do in terms of research. Our research activities are focused on, a set of priority research areas that we hope we have expertise broadly across the college that we can tackle, and that in many cases address key societal problems that are emerging. So on the slide, if you can read it, there are a portfolio of 17 research themes which Trinity regards as priority research areas for activity within the college. They cross all of our schools and faculties. They typically draw on research from health sciences, from engineering, from science, from computer science, of course, from the social sciences, and also, very importantly, from arts and humanities. So topics that are emerging that people will be familiar with are the increasingly aging population worldwide. So aging research is a good example of a multidisciplinary research topic where we have to bring together healthcare researchers, perhaps looking at diseases such as Alzheimer's, engineers who are looking at assisted living, social scientists who are addressing the economic and social impacts of an aging population. Urbanization is another such cross-cutting research theme for the college. Again, I guess in this audience I don't need to persuade people that there is a significant emerging problem with the large-scale development of cities. More and more of the world's population are moving to cities, often in an unplanned, unstructured way. We're seeing the emergence of many more large cities. Already more than half of the world's population live in cities. Cities are increasingly important as economic drivers, as cultural drivers, as social drivers, but not without their problems because of the resource constraints that exist, and the fact that cities are somehow resource hungry has an impact on quality of life and on global resource usage. Cities demand significant power and energy resources, water resources, and other resources. So it's a natural topic as a cross-cutting topic for the university to address in its research. In the case of Trinity, we do that through a very broadly based research centre, which is known as the Future City Centre, which addresses smart and sustainable city living. Draws, as I say, from right across the college, all of the faculties, all of the schools, geographers, social scientists, computer scientists, engineers, health scientists, etc. So that brings me to the notion of open innovation and open innovation 2.0. I guess that it's intrinsic to what universities do that we follow what is now called an open innovation model. Universities have never been closed systems. It's intrinsic, I suppose, to the academic world that we collaborate, that we're open to collaboration with other universities, research institutes, companies, of course, public bodies, cultural bodies, and citizens. That's absolutely part of the DNA of universities and something that we have promoted for a long time. So in the same way that we try to build collaborations across the university, we try to build collaborations nationally and internationally with key partners who can help to drive the research questions and deliver the value that we're interested in producing for society. It's core, I think, to what we do, and it's very natural for us to think in those terms. And so in the case of the sort of future cities research that we've been working on over the last number of years, we've developed, I think, a very deep collaboration, in particular with Intel and with Dublin City, in developing a research agenda that addresses, I suppose, mostly the sort of smart cities dimension of that research. And it really is a deep collaboration. If you were at the showcase yesterday, you'll have seen some of the joint projects that are being undertaken together. You'll have seen staff who may have been Trinity staff or may have been Intel staff. You probably won't have been able to distinguish them. We have a flow of people back and forward, working in my labs, my staff working in Intel's facilities. So it's a deep collaboration. Addresses a range of topics that are of concern within smart cities, where we mutually have research interest that we can address. I won't go through this in detail, but you can see that we're interested in the management of urban infrastructure. We have particular interest in the management of transportation networks. I'll talk a bit more about urban scale sensing and the City Watch project, which again you may have seen in action yesterday, and also in terms of service adaptation. It's not all about data. It's not all about sensing. It's about capturing that data, making sense of it for sure, but reacting to it. So it's about actuation as well as sensing. So if I take something like transportation, we're not only interested in understanding traffic flows and the state of a traffic system, but we're interested in intervening in some sense in how the traffic system is behaving. So we do work on new models for traffic control, for urban traffic light control. We do new models for highway management based on cooperative driving and collaborative driving, sort of souped up cruise control systems, if you like. So it's a sort of a cyber physical systems type approach to the research. I think all of it is underpinned by the need for new business models. There's a lot of technology out there. We understand a lot of the technology, but in the end, we need to work with cities, we need to work with other stakeholders and with the public to drive behavior change and to enable new business models that will lead to new modes of behavior. So to go in a little bit more detail, you'll have seen some of City Watch yesterday. It's an urban scale sensing platform, very much citizen enabled, gathering data from individual citizens, as if you like mobile sensors, as well as from fixed infrastructure, giving people an input into the decisions and the interventions that we might make over a long term or over the short term in different circumstances. So it's I suppose a feedback path for the citizen, but it's also a way for the city to interact more deeply with citizens. A bunch of different research issues that apply, but from the less technical point of view, it's all about somehow incentivization of citizens to engage and cities to engage with their citizens. At that point, I'm going to hand over to Charlie.
Thanks, Vinny. Thank you, folks. So I'm going to briefly talk about some of the collaborations that we've ongoing with Trinity and other universities. First, I wanted to show the Intel vision, which I think is extremely powerful. This decade, we will create and extend computing technology to connect and enrich the lives of every person on Earth. So that's quite a bold statement. I think Intel, with a lot of the technology that we have, we really can make a difference in this area. The team that I run is the Energy and Sustainability Lab. It's an international team focused on the challenges of cities and smart grids, and I'll briefly turn to some of the projects that we're looking at. But I want to acknowledge some of the earlier speakers, particularly Commodore Mallet, and I think I need to add an ocean to this after your talk around data. The world is really becoming, data rich. It's a huge challenge I think, for individuals and actually for companies as well. So one of the key comments that we always make, how do we unlock the value of that data? I mean, if you look what's happening just within the city with the rollout of smart meters, which I think Ireland has taken the lead on with ESB networks, pollution sensors, traffic data traffic system, traffic cameras, there is a huge explosion of data occurring across the world, and that's going to create massive challenges. From a city perspective, when we started our city research, and we have a number of initiatives ongoing across the world, including London, which is one of our key research institutes on cities. But if you look at a city, you basically see all these individual silos. So you've got the built environment, you've got your energy system, you've got your transportation and logistics. In a city today, pretty much any city in the world you'll talk to, these are all operated in their own silos. They're managed in their own silos. There's no data being shared. So you can't see the impact between, let's say, transportation and logistics and pollution and heat island effects or health. There is no common architecture. So what we want to do in our research is basically build a common platform where we can start linking the data and unlocking the value of the data across these specific domains. When we're doing that, basically, we think there's lots of opportunities in this research theme we call Harnessing the Invisible City, which is really taking that data and building new models and services. By doing that, we think we can enable better connected communities across the cities. And then we want to basically sustain sustainable practices. So all the way from the bottom here in terms of unlocking the data, managing data, building services, doing this for the user, involving the user in our research, and then using this data basically to drive and sustain sustainable practices. So this is the key research themes that we're looking at. In Intel Labs, we're specifically focusing on a platform we call our Ambient Intelligence Platform. And really this, we believe, is the key to unlocking the data across multiple domains, whether it's an energy system, whether it's a smart transportation, or it's a city platform. So what we've got here at the bottom of the stack is our multiple ambient sensors. So essentially we can take in data from multiple sensors, and as you're walking around Dublin City, you'll see some of our sensors which we've deployed across in conjunction with Dublin City around lampposts, which we're monitoring acoustic noise, we're monitoring environmental parameters, and all that data is being fed back to what we call our secure and dependable cloud infrastructure. So essentially sensing, taking that data, feeding it through, doing the data management, the analytics. There's some very key research challenges as we go through, and this is where we work with teams like Vinny's team in Trinity College, who have a lot of experience in this area. But ultimately, we're doing this for one reason, and it's for providing information. So we've seen the City Watch example, where we're actually taking user information, but I'll show you an example in a few minutes where we're basically integrating sensor data, citizen data, and trying to bring all this together to deliver better services for the cities. Ultimately, what we want to deliver is a reliable and sustainable city. And we believe that this platform that we're working on is doing this. And we're not just talking about this from a research perspective, we're actually very active in testbeds. So Dublin City Council, who I actually really want to acknowledge Peter and his team for basically opening up Dublin as a testbed. The City of London, which we've also got a lot of activity ongoing with our ICRI. We've got work going on in Portland, and you may be surprised to see Austin, Texas up there, but Austin, Texas is actually one of the most sustainable communities that we've come across. They've basically opened up 3,000 homes which are fully running on renewable energy, which, when you think of Texas, you think of oil, but there's actually some really interesting stuff happening out there. So that's our vision and our strategy for unlocking the data. So I want to walk you through one example, and this is actually running down in the showcase. So in the world and across most of the cities, there's a big push to opening up data. There's also the citizen data aspect. I mean, people are walking around with smartphones today. These are great tools for capturing data and what's happening across the city. In the future, some of the platform work that Intel is doing, you'll see multiple different sensors that'll be integrated into these platforms and into future technologies. So everybody could potentially be a walking sensor within a city. Now that's a huge opportunity, but we need to build that in a secure fashion. So if we can take our citizen data, our open data, which most of the cities are opening, and our sensor data from embedded sensors, this could be vehicles, this could be fixed sensors like we're deploying across Dublin. Through our ambient intelligence platform, which I just showed you on the previous file, we'll capture that data, we'll aggregate it, we'll fuse it, and this data fusion is a massive challenge. So if you think about information from a smartphone, information from a fixed sensor, and then information from open data, maybe from the energy systems or from the water systems, how do you actually fuse all that data together, and how can you build a common ontology? These are some of the challenges that we're dealing with across cities. Analytics is going to be critical. Some of the work that we're doing basically is looking at where is the best place to place that analytics. So do you do everything in the cloud? Do you push something out to the edge of the networks into specific aggregators across the city? And actually getting that data. So some of the work that we're also doing here with another team in Trinity College is looking at the use of TV white space for backhauling data, which is quite innovative. So going forward, we take the data. We've got our citizen photo data. We've got our weather data, which we can scrape off the internet. We've actually got, in this specific use case, we've got a flow meter. So basically managing drains and seeing when drains are blocked around a city. So we take all that information. An issue occurs, we can see from the weather data that there's a flood imminent or heavy rain is imminent. We're starting to see some issues with our drains getting blocked, and people will start, hopefully our citizens get engaged and start actually uploading data. So basically what happens at this point is we can send all of this information back to a city platform. This can be sitting on Peter's desk or his city manager desk. And it recommends a number of course of action. Now, it's a bit hard to read, but there's 3 things he can do. He can basically trigger a traffic management strategy, or he can deploy the drain crew. So basically, 3 things. We'll actually divert traffic away from that area, so flood warning. We'll update the city signage, which is in a lot of cities right now. We'll deploy the maintenance personnel, and then we'll inform and instruct the citizen that, thanking them for it. And this is extremely important. We need to provide feedback to keep the citizens engaged. And we're also using the concept of gamification, where we're actually adding credit or points to the user's phone. So we're trying to build up, and this is part of the City Watch research that we're doing, the concepts of gamification and how we can actually get different communities to contribute data. So that's one of the projects that we're doing in Dublin in our lab. I'm going to switch very quickly to energy, and you'll hear more of this from our next speaker. Ireland, we do a lot of work on smart grid research. I think Ireland has the opportunity to be one of the leading test beds. We call this the Internet. It's where energy and the internet converge together. It's one of our key research themes. In Europe, there's going to be over 200 billion euros invested in electricity and gas infrastructure. In Ireland, at some points, and our friends from the ESB can talk to it in more detail, but we've seen instances of 50% wind penetration at night. Ireland has one of the highest wind penetrations of any synchronous electricity system in the world. So that's a huge opportunity for Ireland in terms of we can get out ahead and actually work together with other companies to basically figure out what are those new business models and services. But we can also be a real exemplar for the rest of Europe and also for the rest of the world. So highest wind penetration. We've got a unique cross-jurisdiction with Southern and Northern Ireland. We have an extremely strong ICT competency. So you'll hear more over the next few weeks, but one of the areas that we're looking at is we're collaborating, and you'll see it in the demos in the showcase. We're basically collaborating with teams from Glendimplex. We're also going to be working with Airgrid and ESB networks on the test beds to really use some technology that we've incubated in our lab called NLive. And NLive will allow us to do demand response solutions across the island of Ireland. So we've already done some projects with the ESB in a local area here called Roebuck Downs, where we're controlling the charging of 10 electric vehicles, and we've shown a 40% benefit, reduced impact on the network. Adding these loads to a network without some level of control can be very detrimental to the electricity infrastructure. So by adding our N-Life, our ICT platform, we can actually control energy charging of the electric vehicles within the home, but also at a community level. And we plan to expand this out. We've already done some demonstrations with some storage heaters from Glen Dimplex. But we believe that we have one of the solutions, and by working together with our energy partners across the island of Ireland, we can drive some very, very unique collaborations in this area and really get out ahead of some of the challenges that the rest of the world is going to see. So I'm going to close on this slide, which Vinny started out with. And I think within Intel Labs Europe, and obviously Martin as the chair here, I think we're really role modeling this concept of quadruple helix innovation. We're engaged very closely on the citizen aspect within the cities, with government. We do a lot of research across Intel Labs Europe in the European Framework Project, where I think we're one of the leading companies, ICT companies in Ireland right now that's actively engaged in FP7. Our collaborations with Trinity College and other universities across the world have been really outstanding. The collaboration with Dublin City Council is extremely important, and the ongoing collaborations with industry and hopefully our other energy suppliers within this country. I think we've got a great opportunity. So I think my time is up, so I will close on that. Thank you for your time.